doing clams. One of the key principles to understand within strength and conditioning is the difference between muscle action and muscle function. So simply put, muscle action is how the muscle works in isolation, just moving from origin to insertion. So if for a bicep, that is simply the forearm moving towards my shoulder. Muscle function, however, is a little bit more complicated and it takes a little bit deeper understanding. So muscle function is how our muscles act when we're doing dynamic movements such as walking, running, jumping. How we train and approach this is going to be vastly different to how I'm working in isolation. So if we take a classic example, as you would have seen in the clip earlier, clams, crab walks, we love to isolate the muscle action of the glute med, and we love to do some glute activation. That's a topic for another day. So majority of the training for something like the glute med is going to be focused around that muscle action. But we're completely disregarding what the glute med does when we're walking, running, jumping. And the glute med's function is to stabilize the pelvis. So if we're just working through isolated muscle action, we're not going to be adequately preparing our body to do those tasks and work effectively in that manner. So it's important that we have a balance of both. It is important, and there's a time and place to build up the strength and the capacity of muscles within isolation, but we also need to understand how to integrate that function back into more dynamic movements. So simply we can do progressions from working up, building some basic strength through clams, through some crab walks, whatever it may be, but then progressing into some things like step downs, where we're really challenging the ability of that glute med to stabilize my pelvis while we're completing that task. The exact same story for the adductor. The adductor is a secondary stabilizer of the pelvis, so glute med is going to be our primary, and that is the muscle function. As we all know, the muscle action, it's in the name, is to adduct the femur. So simply bringing that leg back towards the midline. So there's, again, time and place, build up the capacity of the tissue, build up the strength by doing things in isolation such as Copenhagen planks or adductor squeezes. But at some point we're going to have to challenge the function of that adductor by doing some single leg work, whether that may be some lunges out to the side and working on that ability to stabilize the pelvis. So having this greater understanding of what the muscles are actually doing while we're completing more dynamic movements is a major key to get the most out of your performance, but also have the best results within your rehab